Prague in the Czech Republic, and I took a little break to come back to LA. My son still had a couple of months left in school.
Right.
And we were all going to go back for spring break, but I said to my wife, you know what, I'm going to go back a week early. I need to be back for a little bit.
Yeah.
Whatever. I literally got the script like the day after I got back, and I read it. And the reason I remember is because I was going to pick my wife up from the airport.
Right.
Like 5 days later, and I read the script and I called her up and I said, I'm not going to be able to get you from the airport because I'm going up to Petaluma to work on this little movie.
So you started
that
really fast.
I started really fast. I think everybody kind of started really fast.
So everyone just got the script, decided, wow, we love it, and just...
I can't speak for anybody else, but I mean for myself.
And you guys filmed in 18 days. I mean, that's almost unheard of. That's got to be pretty much the fastest you've seen, I would imagine.
Yeah, certainly that I've ever worked on.
Right, because, I mean, for a feature-length film, usually you would think at least, 40 days I would think would be a short amount of time.
No, indie films will hang in, I shot another film last year that shot in 20 days, and another one after that this summer that shot in like 22 days. So it's, when you're in the 20 range,
right,
20 to 25, an indie film,
that's pretty good.
That's pretty par. But 18 days is a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, you really...
I've never heard of that low.
You're scaling back in a way, but it also makes it really difficult too, because, directors and producers and everybody, they need to, it's 5 pounds of bologna in a 2-pound bag every day, and they got to move on, and sometimes, you got to stop and go.
Right, you might save some money doing it shorter, but you're definitely in a crunch as far as getting done everything that you want to get done.
You don't want to move ahead of a moment before you find it.
Right, so if you're searching, the actors are working together and they're looking for that perfect take, you don't want to necessarily say, oh, well, we got to move on. You want to make sure that you get that moment that everyone's really happy with.
You have to.
Right, just for the sake of the movie, I guess. So your character, you play, a coach who's also, is it a World War II veteran or Vietnam veteran? So he's clearly not the same as when he went off. He's pretty.
I think that's a lot of the good scripts give you a lot of clues on who a character is.
Right.
His wife is throwing him out. The principal, played by John Voight, Principal Skinner,
is ready to throw him out as well.
It's like, Dad, you let your wife throw you, out of your house, but this is what you make a stand for, this kid. So those are things that tell you a lot about somebody. Look at the books on the bookshelf.
Right.
John Voight, tells you a lot about what he reads.
The little details, right.
It's just trying to find his... I always felt from the first time that I read it that it was a character that was trying to find, his own balance at this point in his life. And, ultimately in his balance is, all of the, the right and wrong of the world. And the right thing was to give this kid a chance.
Right, and I think, it was a great character, you played the character very well, and I thought the interaction between your character and Ali was really, special, because in some ways, he's playing someone who's like, fleeing from a war, and your character, in some sense, you're kind of fleeing from the war as well, just in your day-to-day, in your head. So, in my mind, watching it, I felt like that was something that your two characters, even unspoken, could really relate on.
Yeah, I love that. I love that way of looking at it.
Yeah, the writing was great. And then the other thing I want to ask you is, like we talked about in the Q&A, obviously, when you guys were doing this a few years ago, there's no way you could have known. Obviously, it's always a relevant topic, but today it's 100% relevant. It's right in everybody's lexicon. It's what's going around. The 2016 Syrian refugee situation is, almost identical to the 1980s Iranian refugee situation.
The situation too is, very everything that's happening.
Right.
You know, and I don't honestly think that, like Dio said today, when we made the movie, I think there was a little sliver, like a 1%, 10%, whatever,
Right.
of, you know, first of all, films that deal with prejudice in this world, you know, they're timeless. And just, you know, getting that message out there. There is no time that isn't good
Absolutely.
to get the message out.
It's always present.
Absolutely. But it wasn't until we shot this film in April, late March, April of 2015, and then by the time I saw a first screening, probably in October of that year, a year ago now, you know, things had really, the world had shifted a lot in that 6 months.
Right.
So by the time I saw a first screening of the film, then all of a sudden it was 40-50% of like, wow.
It does. It takes on that, you know.
And now, in that last year, I think the percentage is even higher than that. I mean, it's
absolutely. Because it takes from modern politics, and like you said, you know, there's that element that's always there. You know, whatever point in history we're in, you know, it's always so relevant. And I personally like the fact that it also, sorry, excuse me, takes a very American sort of like rising up to the champion type of story, like very Rocky sort of feel, but puts a different twist on the nationality within the movie, and that to me just really sold it. You know, it's like, you know, you're taking something that's so American and you're making it so relatable, you know, to us as viewers, you know, for a whole other culture, and to really understand, you know, others better. Because, you know, the whole argument, especially like when it comes to refugees and stuff like that, is these are not bad people. These are people who are fleeing death, you know, and the movie really shows that. So I guess my last question for you then is, obviously, you know, you want people to like the movie, but what do you want them to be thinking when they leave the theater? You know, is there any message you want them to take away from it? Any dinner conversations you'd like to see them having afterwards?
No, I don't think there's anything I could say that isn't, you know, already built in the experience of watching the movie. I don't think that any. I've yet to meet someone who walked away from watching the movie and didn't have a reaction that moved them in some way. You know,
I totally agree.
Plight of people. And injustice and all of that. You could say it's interwoven in a coming of age story, or it's, you know, it's brought through in the world of like wrestling through a sport.
It's really whatever you want it to be.
And it's really what you want it to be, and it's it transcends all of it.
I think it's really one of those movies that absolutely speaks for itself when it comes to an audience. You know, I don't think there's any kind of preface you need for it. I don't think an audience needs to know anything going in or will feel anything going out that you wouldn't expect them to. Well, that's it for me. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. So.